Welcome to Shapify Experiences. Today we are here in a different environment, OutSystems office, to talk with Gonçalo Borrêga, Senior VP of Product Management. Let's go. Thank you, Gonçalo, for receiving us here in OutSystems to record this Shapify Experience podcast.
Thank you.
So maybe for the ones that like to know a little more about you, can you just start maybe to do a brief introduction of yourself and your background until you get this position in OutSystems?
Sure. Well, we can go way back because I'm already getting old, but I learned to program, to develop with BASIC on Spectrum.
Yeah.
And I was 14 years old, building a piece of software for this crazy guy that had a lot of money and was obsessed about Totoloto, so the lottery. So we were doing kind of like probability analysis of the next ball that would come out on Saturday, and he spent a lot of money there, but it was good to pay for vacations. I then went into a small startup. I've been doing software there for banks, for insurance companies, so a little bit for healthcare. I built there a code generator, so I was kind of like always doing repetitive things, and that got me kind of like
you already wanted to automate something.
To automate stuff. So I've went through consulting companies. Also had a startup a few years back, also related to pharma, digital marketing, automation as well. But been here at OutSystems since 2008. Originally, we were here. I've been in professional services. I managed R&D. I was always asking for more capabilities out of the platform until they got me to come and build them myself.
Okay.
And then I've been leading product management since 2012. I think so.
Okay. And in the company that you created, you were also OutSystems customer, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we ended up. COVID popped. We had just started. I don't know, maybe 20 days before COVID. We had a completely different idea, but when COVID hit, we had to change a little bit, and we created a platform to allow pharma reps, sales reps, to better know how to target physicians, better know how to target any healthcare professional with the right message at the right time, at the right channel. And we created a platform using OutSystems for that specific purpose.
Okay, yeah. So it gives you a good perspective, not just all of the years that you have been here in OutSystems, but also the other side that you already knew well, because we were talking regularly with clients, right? But being in the other side is always different.
Yeah, it's different, even though, so one of the things that always got me to be motivated here at OutSystems is really understanding customers, understanding their pain points, and being really curious about what are the things that they want to solve, right? And that's what keeps me motivated, gives me the curiosity to kind of like learn new things, learn about customers' businesses. I really like to understand how we can help through technology solve the challenges that our customers have. Ultimately, I'm here to do that, right? So to allow our customers to innovate through software, and that curiosity, like being really, really close to customers, is amazing, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do it a lot in my role. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the OutSystems always have a proposal that is very focused on solving the business problems more than creating the code. Actually, OutSystems since the beginning abstract the code itself. It generate the code and have the visual way of seeing the flows and the logic itself. Now that AI is being incorporated in all of these systems, I think this gets even more relevant, and the OutSystems seems that is in a very good position to continue that path, but even with other level, because there are other capabilities. How you see how can you describe the advantages of using a platform as OutSystems in this new area of AI?
Well, it's a big question. I think we've always been very focused, as you were saying, on solving our customers' business problems, right? And we know that with software, that needs to be done with people, with engineers, with the teams that they have, right? And originally, part of the abstraction was mostly related to, for instance, how can we make sure that the people, the developers that organizations already have, they can understand each other's code, for instance, so that whenever you need to change, and that was always kind of like the big North Star, is that software is easy to change. So generating something to start with is very easy. It was always very easy, right? But then when you need to change it, the maintenance and so on, it becomes harder. And you become having to rely on code that someone else has written maybe 2 years ago or maybe 20 years ago. And it's hard for you to understand that code. You need to be able to troubleshoot that code. You need to be able to understand what's going wrong so that you can go back and fix it. So a lot of the abstractions also came from this specific angle. How can we better address and simplify the way you solve the business problem without you having to be as aware of what is in the code that eventually someone else introduced. And that's why we basically created the model that has those abstractions, allows you to visually model and compose things to build a large system that anybody can understand. So if I look, I still remember, so I was building software here at OutSystems in 2008 for an insurance company in Northern Europe. I still remember some algorithms that we have, like for instance, when you need to go to the policy broker, I remember the logic flow went right. So we humans, we create those mental models in our head, which are mostly about the business rule, the flow, how one entity is represented in their attributes, not necessarily in code, right? So, and those abstractions ultimately always helped a lot with knowledge transfer. So I could look into someone else's logic, I could understand it, I could change it. I could troubleshoot. So when we introduced the end-to-end support for DevOps, I could easily go to production, understand what's going wrong, tied to what's happening in development, make a change and push it all the way through, right? So being able to have these abstractions and this platform that covers the full stack and that covers the full life cycle is what allowed us always to get like this loop that always keeps you very productive while changing software. And those abstractions basically allow you to speak to someone else, speak to someone in the business, and make the question, so does this look like the flow you want to follow, or does this look like the business rule that you want to apply? Does this look like the structure of the data that you want to have supporting not only this system, but maybe some systems that you're considering in the future? So making it visual also allows in communicating
and understanding
with the business.
Better. Yeah. And so you were one of the persons that were in the event presenting the new OutSystem Agentic engineering or system engineering. How this now fits on top of the OutSystems layer that were already provided, and what is the main advantages of this system?
So I would say there are maybe three things here. One is agentic systems engineering is an evolution of how you build software. I think the second one is how you deliver and how you continuously change software. That's also part of it, while ensuring quality. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit because now everything is agentic. So the way you manage quality is going to be very, very different. And the third one is what we also touched a little bit during the event, which is the enterprise context graph, which is the context that is really underlying all of this, that captures this and that makes all of this information, all your code, all your business rules and so on available for AI to easily traverse, to easily understand, to easily compose as well. So in terms of building, so we know that nowadays the combination of writing software by a human, whether it's in code or dragging, as you do with OutSystems IDEs, always need to come side by side with an agent that builds that software for you, with whom you interact with natural language, usually via chatbot, but right. But now we're in the world where both agents and people they collaborate to build to create software, right? And that's part of what we introduced with Agentic Systems Engineering. So the next generation of Mentor, as you know, is now available in the tools that developers use to make that collaboration, let's say, between both very effective. And Mentor is able to go full stack, right? So it's able to understand your application to the finest level of detail and use many AI models. So we use 3 models, at least. We use GPT 5.4 recently, Sonnet, and Gemini as well, because sometimes we manage very large application portfolios, right, in enterprise software. And Gemini proved to also have like a big context window that can fit all of this information in. So Mentor behind the scenes is basically picking the best model to build the piece of the software that you need, and it's right there side by side with the models, with the application in the IDE, so that you can also understand the logic that it is creating. And since you can actually see it, it's not tons and tons of lines of code that you basically lose track of. You always have this advantage of being able to look and do precise changes. Okay. So I think that was pillar number 1. The second one is that we've also made this open, right? And we're opening not only the ability for agents like Claude Code or Cursor or AWS Kiro, for instance, to build OutSystems applications, right? To create the app in that particular tool. But also, if we think about the full stack and full platform that we have, to orchestrate that lifecycle end to end. So these agents can easily go, for instance, into one application, understand the logs that you have in production. They can understand and prioritize what's the most important error to fix, for instance. They can generate a new version of the application. They can push it to the testing environment. They can run evals there. So basically, you can orchestrate the life cycle end to end with any coding agent. And this is much more than just generating code or model in our case, right? It's really about using all the platform pieces that make an enterprise's architecture, policies, security rules. All of that is already governed and managed in the platform. So now you plug any agent on top of this, and you basically have a team of AI agents that are developing, building, and delivering end-to-end on top of that platform. The third thing is the context graph. So AI basically needs a semantic understanding of things to be able to properly reason, right? And yes, it can very well generate code, right? Because it knows how to code, it can generate an OutSystems application, right? So it knows how to model applications, but that's just one piece, right? But it's always non-deterministic. Now, if you want to have one security rule that is applied across all applications, if you want to have one, for instance, imagine you have a widget for collecting credit card information, and you always want to have that widget used in every application when you collect credit card information. Imagine that you have a data model with, I don't know, we have customers with thousands, but let's say hundreds of tables, all interconnected, and what are the business concepts in each one of them, and how do you make sure that when you're updating a customer, the system always knows that a customer is the account table that is called I don't know, PT underscore account, whatever, right? So that information, all of it is encoded in the platform, in our context graph. And it goes as far as understanding all the data attributes that you have in your organization, understanding all the integrated systems that you have, right? Because enterprises are not building on a vacuum, right? It's easy to think that, yeah, I'm going to generate a new application. In an organization, you're going to build on top of 20 years of existing systems that you've created, right? So the context graph holds all of that, the security rules, the policies, the architecture, and it also holds, because we've been doing this visual modeling for so long, it holds one thing that is very important. OutSystems developers so far and customers have always been using a lot of the natural language to put in descriptions, to put in, to basically to properly name the elements, and that information is gold for AI, right? So that is the information that AI, even though we build up the context graph also from the code, from the logic that you have there, but that information that people have been creating and putting in the metadata is gold for the system to understand and to create a much better application, right? Yeah. So these are the three big things that I would say were really relevant. That we
and passing through them, like the comparing that to vibe coding, like for example, I really see a lot of advantage. Like a vibe coding generate hundreds and hundreds of lines of code, and then you don't have a way to visualize all. You don't have time also. Like if you create so much code, then you might need other agent to validate your code, because if don't, you'll spend so much time. So with this approach of OutSystems is already visual. So even if you use AI to generate the system, the generated system is visual, so we can understand it much easy. Yep. That is the first part. Then in the graph, so it means that so now I can use external models, like my old model. You mentioned one thing that I didn't thought before. So it's not just to create the code itself; it's to manage the entire infrastructure. I can validate maybe logs, validate where I have errors, validate all of that stuff. That is all amazing. How you see that this affects the persons that use the tool. So if now with these new capabilities, what OutSystems developers should focus to guarantee that they instead of that they know or they leverage their expertise to use this new version of the technology.
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, this doesn't change a lot, other than giving you all the options that you want to have. So if you still want to visually model your architecture, for instance, your database and so on. A lot of people
can go and see.
You can still go. If you like to use cursor, you can also do it, right? You can combine both, right? So you can ask cursor to do a little bit, then go and visual model a little bit. But basically, the original idea behind this is whatever you want to use,
you can plug into.
You can basically plug and benefit from all the stack that the platform gives you across all areas of the application, agents, and so on, and really the entire DevOps pipeline. So number one is it gives you options. I think the second one, where people should focus, is OutSystems developers have always had kind of like a really good skill, which is to be really close to the business and to be more like architects of the solution and less like coders, right?
Because they didn't need to code it
they didn't
already.
need to code
so.
most of the time. Yeah, exactly. So I think they already have this thought process of breaking down the problem, understanding how it maps to the overall system, do a little bit of system design, right? Architecture design, and understand where the pieces of software should go into. Because even though generating code now is free, let's say, right? So you can basically
getting to that point.
It's getting to that point, right? So you can generate whatever lines of code or whatever pieces of software you want. But organizations, enterprises, they still need systems, right? They don't need more code. They need systems that can stand compliance requirements, regulatory requirements, that can stand the times of change in terms of how they modernize, in terms of how they reuse centralized business rules. And that still requires a good system level design to understand what should be the different experiences that I should provide to my customers. How do I automate a particular business process so that it is reusable across many areas of my organization? So that type of systems thinking really is really where OutSystems customers and developers should focus on developing that skill to really understand the business and map it to the overall system. Because then asking AI to generate each piece of the system is really easy, right?
Yeah, we need to be more architects, thinking on the architect in general, and in the problem that we are trying to solve more than the flow.
Exactly.
So before, even in OutSystems, we needed to manually create the flow and the logic, etc. Is much more abstract than going to create lines of code. So this was already making the OutSystems developer thinking more in the logic, because the code part was already accelerated for them. But now it's even faster, because instead of me manually create the flow, I can just ask for Minter Minter or an AI that is plugging to OutSystems to generate that part. But I still need to describe exactly what I want, how I want that to be organized in the architecture of that. I think that is the main thing. And one other role that I think it merged a little bit to that is also the role of design. Like the design part, it used to be more focused on the user experience. Like the designer wanted to understand the user, to understand really what the user needs to translate that to an interface, and then the developers were creating that. And it seems for me like most of the roles of a project are becoming almost one single role. It will not be just one, but everyone needs to be more in this central role where they need to understand the business, understand the users, and document or create a proper text for AI to create something.
So ultimately, that's what we called agentic systems engineering, right? So it's thinking about the system and engineering it end to end to solve a particular outcome. I think So still on the skills, one important skill that is really relevant nowadays, and it's relevant whether you're creating software, whether you're creating an agent, is to define what success looks like, right? Because instead of us defining exactly the solution, we're going to be much more having much more help from AI. So defining what success looks like is a different way of thinking that not many people are used to. And describing properly what success looks like in a policy, in a spec, in a user experience, for instance, when you're really able to think about what is the job to be done of the software, and then, okay, how do I measure if this job is being done properly, right? So that then we can create evaluations and the system can continue to improve itself. I think I agree completely with you that roles are kind of like being combined more and more, right? You would see that already with OutSystems developers, where they're not just coders, they're also architects, they're not just back-end developers, they're also front-end developers. Now they also build agents, right? So they do a lot of AI development, AI engineering, and agentic systems engineering. So when you have ultimately a team of agents, AI agents, helping you get to that outcome, it really means that you need to be focused on what is the experience, what is the architecture, the system that will get you, your business, your customer, your experience ultimately to that outcome. So thinking more about the problem, breaking down the problem, breaking down the jobs to be done, even outside of the system, right? So what happens when a user needs to, I don't know, apply for an insurance policy? Is the user in the airport? Maybe if he is and is opening that application at that precise moment, maybe he's looking for a travel policy, right? Not for a life insurance,
generic, exactly.
right? So that personalization, being able to think through what is happening outside of the system, so that then the system is basically solving for that outcome.
Specific.
The good thing about it is that you can also build agents that support and that do that hyper personalization of each use case to that particular user at that time, at that moment. So it's a really fun evolution of software now.
Yeah, that part of the personalization itself, it was very hard to do in the past. Like if you wanted to provide a specific application for specific or for different kind of persons, we needed to create them. We needed to create. If you wanted to be it will be 5 different pages that we'll need to create, and then could have some logic to define when to show one or the other. But now the agents can provide that. So the agents basically we can have some context from the user, and that context being used to generate something more custom. And then every time that we get more information, we can personalize it even more. So regarding this, how you see for enterprises, like if it's getting faster to develop, if you have agents to maintain these systems, so what will be the next step for enterprises, or if an enterprise can leverage these systems, what they will gain, and what will be the next step for them?
Yeah. So I think, like with any other software, I think we've always should be doing one exercise, which is what is the outcome that I want to get, right? Do I want to improve my user experience? Do I want to increase sales with a particular strategy or tactic? Do I want to reduce costs in a given process that is taking me long? So ultimately, you should only build for the outcome that you want to get, right? And I think this is what enterprises now can think through on how to leverage AI to get to those outcomes faster. There are usually a few areas where you can really benefit the most from AI. One is, as we were discussing, this hyper-personalization, right? So UX used to be about breaking down our customer base or user base in different personas so that we could have a particular experience for each one of them. But that was only because it was too expensive to create one individual experience for that particular user, right? And AI basically solves for that. So you can have an agent that at each particular touch point of the user, you can fully personalize an offer for them. You can fully personalize the support experience that they have. You can fully personalize, for instance, the tracking of deliveries or a healthcare plan or, I don't know, a follow-up process, right? You can fully personalize all of this to that particular user. And this is, in my perspective, the biggest opportunity that enterprises have to differentiate from other companies. It's basically fully personalizing the customer experience that they provide. Because, I mean, I don't want to spend time looking at my phone or at my laptop trying to solve for the thing I need, right? So the company, let's say the bank, that gives me the fastest onboarding experience is the one that I'll go to, right? Because I don't want to spend time there. And they still need to do it in a compliant manner and so on. So it's a hard problem. But now with this personalization, we can really create a lot of growth opportunities. I think the other one is outcomes on reducing costs. And this is automation, right? So the usual automation that we've been doing now is basically uncapped. So we basically took the last limit that we used to have in automation, which is the edge cases and exceptions, right? So now you can have agents that basically, you can have deterministic processes, workflows that already automate with rules that you've learned throughout the years. But all those exceptions, they can now be handled, even if not end-to-end, because you still need to be compliant, you still need to have a human to be accountable for the decision, right? But you can have multiple agents doing specific tasks, preparing specific units of work in an organization and getting the work 99% ready. And that system can be improving with time. So for instance, in the launch on March 31st, we've shown you a pattern where you've got one agent that looks into all the exceptions on a process that we had there for order management and learns from all the exceptions out of the comments that people dropped for that exception, right? Those exceptions now become the new policy for the next execution. So these are systems that are self-improving themselves out of these exceptional use cases that before we would need to get budget to implement a new rule and change the system and validate all of that. And now, since you can have basically an agent that learns itself, you can have a human to do the final check, final decision. But it's a self-learning loop that systems can have. So and this is having massive effects in how the workforce, or what is the workforce, right? So can I have some agents doing a lot of the work and get my people, my team to be focused really on the strategic and creative thinking that businesses still need to solve their problems.
And sometimes it's the things that are critical and that they need to have time to do. And they don't have time. There are lots of companies that they don't have time for that very strategic tasks because they have a lot of bureaucratic tasks to do. And is that bureaucratic things that AI is very well to automate and to process and giving time then to people to focus on the important things.
Yeah. So one thing that we've been always thinking is instead of asking our teams to solve a problem, now is we're going to ask our teams to create a system to solve that problem. So all of them are becoming system thinkers, right? So all of them are thinking about ways to create an agent that we can share with other people in our teams, so that part of the work is automated, and we move on to the next problem. There's
and that
many
problem already
to
have
solve.
a solution. I already have an agent to do that. I just need to call it, and that problem is solved. Yeah, when you're talking, I was here thinking, like some years ago, when I was thinking what will be the best user experience possible, and at that time was not really possible to have like a. For me, the best experience is almost no experience. Like if something just happened, just happen automatically, then it means that there is no friction.
Yep.
Just happen. If I just think that I want to travel somewhere and by magic I have that plan in the flight booked, it will be amazing. Of course, they cannot still connect things to, actually can, but we are not on that level. But if the system can anticipate what the user want to do and prepare things, that will be the best experience, because I have one task to do. If it's already pre-filled, if it's already with most of the things that need to be done, and I just need to review, it will help. And what you think, we were talking now going back, like, okay, in the enterprise company that still are not using OutSystems or are not using this level of AI, what do you think they should do? What do you think is the easy path, or what should be the steps that they need to do to adopt a system like this?
Yeah. So I would say the easiest way to begin with, and it ties a little bit to what you were describing, right? How do we make this process magic? It's not going to be magic. For AI to really give you benefits, it needs context, right? So how will it know what you want to do? How will it know what you've done before? How will it know what people similar to you have done in that particular case? All of that is basically encoded in that context graph, right? So the context graph, as we have it, is really the brain of your organization. It has the structure, so your systems, your architecture, your rules, your security guidelines, but it also has the operational aspect of the business, right? So the actual data, it's all mapped there. The good thing for a customer that is not yet using OutSystems is that the moment they start, they can connect their existing systems. They can easily connect APIs to systems of records that they already have. They can plug their existing systems over APIs that they built on OutSystems. And all of that immediately feeds a little bit of the context graph, right? So that's where you start. Building an agent on top of, data that you have in NetSuite and SAP and Salesforce. You can have an agent that on day one connects all the data from those different systems and can do really, really good and accurate inference across those different systems, right? So it's 10 minutes to get you connected to the three different systems and get that information. So I would say the biggest leverage here that new OutSystems customers will have is really to lay the platform, which is kind of like the groundworks to connect to their data, to very quickly build their enterprise context graph, and then start optimizing some processes immediately out of that, right? So the value is going to be there very, very rapidly.
Okay. Yeah, I was. It was a very good insight, because I was thinking, okay, enterprise that already use OutSystems already have a lot of data there, and the graph could be known, all of that. But even a company that still don't have OutSystems, the way that you describe, okay, I just connect quickly a bunch of APIs. I still don't have software. I didn't make any software. Just connect all of the APIs, and then I can just go to AI and start asking things.
Exactly.
Okay, I already have invoices. I already have a lot of other things. Now I want to create an app, and this app will have custom data, but it will also use the things that already exist on top of that.
On top of that,
Yeah.
And this is evolving really fast. I want to really make sure that we invite you all to the One Conference. We're gonna
is already
bring
there.
Some interesting things there related to this as well.
Yeah. Actually, is one of the questions that I have. For one is 1 month something away.
Yes.
Probably are things that you cannot share still, but what can you say about the next things from OutSystems?
Yes, so there are a few things that we're keeping behind the scenes until then, but you can think about Agentic Systems Engineering that we just announced as kind of like a first step into what is the orchestration and transformation that you can do not only in software development but across the rest of the workforce, right? So AI is really good at building software, but AI is also really good at solving a lot of other use cases, right? And the process where you apply Agentic Systems Engineering for software is not very different from the process that you apply to orchestrate your business. It's a continuous loop of self-learning, gathering the right context, right? Mapping that context, so the structure, the actual data, and making self-improving systems that build on top of the context that we have. That's a lot of where we're focused is really on how do we get to the next stage of productivity, not just IT productivity, but even business productivity. How can we automate businesses in a much faster way with systems, of course, with software, but even in the way we transform how people work, how people do their work every day, and so there's a lot to share there.
Do you have already some examples of transformations that OutSystems have been done in enterprises that you can share?
I mean, from IT to businesses all around. We have one customer I remember that has basically automated the legacy modernization of all the front ends of the bank software. So they created I think it was the day Agent Workbench came out. They created a series of agents to automate doing reverse engineering over legacy software that they had, I think in RPG, AS400, extracting information from that, generating new product requirements documents, doing a QA process that is also automated, and then feeding that to Mentor to generate the new software. So they have a full agentic process, let's say, to modernize software.
That's actually a topic that you showed in the presentation, like the how much easier now is to just grab a very old system and recreate it very fast.
And basically we have a customer that went even a little bit ahead of us and created that system themselves. I can give you examples, for instance, around travel companies that are creating fully personalized travel itineraries. It has transformed the way they engage with their customers. We have, for instance, government companies that, for instance, are looking every day, have built agents that look every day into new regulations that come out in the Diário da República, public regulations, and automate the changing and updating of all their documents and policies internally to serve citizens. So massive transformations there. For instance, in insurance, we have customers that are automating the entire claims handling process. So they used to spend still a lot of time in, for instance, intaking claims that are sent by email. They automated that part initially, but then they immediately moved on to delegating the right claim to the right department based on the content and the stage of the process. Examples all around.
Is there something more that you like to share with us about the future of OutSystems or the work that you have been doing here?
It's an amazing time to be working in the software industry, right? Our customers, most of them, they're not in the software industry, right? So it's also a privilege to kind of like be creating kind of like the simple version of what they can use to be on the bleeding edge of agentic systems engineering and agentic development for these types of organizations that often need to focus on the business outcomes that they want to get. I think it's also a great time to be here for our community, right? So we've always seen careers being transformed for people that use OutSystems, right? So we have people from many backgrounds where we've made technology accessible enough so that they could even build new careers in software with OutSystems. And this time that we're on now is really kind of like up-leveling that 10 times, right? So I think it's really the realization of our vision, and my real motivation to be here is to see the transformation that we can have in these people, in the businesses of our customers, and so on. So it's really a privilege to be here, and I'm so grateful that we have customers and partners and that are kind of like excited to bring businesses all around the world to this next level. So it's good.
Yeah, it's very. The thing that you're saying, I was just remember a lot of people that also know they convert them career to be OutSystems engineers, and it was much more easy in OutSystems than in traditional code because it's much more visual. But now it's just to get other level became much more easy. About the you also mentioned like this transformation, this time that we are passing. I think like the engineering part, the software is one of the first parts that being affected with AI, because I think AI works very well with logic, basically, because it's things that it can understand very well. But there is so much to do after that with every single business. Every single business with this kind of tools can become almost a kind of a software first system to solve their problems,
their business outcomes, of course. And I mean, software has never been just about creating code, right? It has been one of the
you need to have a purpose of something.
Yeah, you need to have some skills to do that. But organizations, they need an entire stack, right? They need the data processing stack, they need the workflows, they need event management. So building enterprise software is more than just building code. I think we're just collapsing all of those knowledge gaps that is to happen to be in the world, and we're now making this technology accessible for everyone. Right? So, and you have kind of like a platform that ensures that you're governed, that, for instance, security is analyzed for everything that is generated, and for instance, if you need to patch something, you click a button in the platform upgrades the stack across all your applications. You don't need to regenerate them or change them again with AI, right? So I think thinking about how you create that kind of like almost the agentic operating system of your organization, where then everybody works on, not just to build software, but to do work.
To solve problems, to solve problems, and don't need to be just engineering. Of course, the engineers will be the base of all. The engineers can understand better the architecture, but everyone will be much more able to do software and solve that problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for this
Thank
conversation.
You. Yeah, great conversation indeed, and happy to have you guys here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.